Today's guest is someone who has made a profound impact, not just in the legal industry, but in the lives of those around him, both professionally and personally. Gary Falkowitz is an attorney, entrepreneur, and founder of Intake Conversion Experts. But most importantly, he's a husband, a father, and the heart behind a powerful mission that honors the life of his son, Ethan. In this conversation, we're going beyond intake strategy. We're diving into resilience, purpose, and what it means to keep going when life breaks your heart. This is a story about building something meaningful in the face of unimaginable loss and how that light can guide others forward. Today, I'm honored to be joined by Gary Falkowitz, and I know Gary's worn many hats: husband, father, lawyer, business owner, mentor, and so much. So I'm excited for you guys to hear from Gary today. For those who may not know you, could you kind of introduce yourself and tell us about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So Gary Falkowitz here, and you're right. I wear many hats. This might be my favorite, which is a love hat with an E in there. And I'm sure we'll talk about my boy Ethan throughout this podcast. But some of the hats I wear, I happen to be an attorney. I've been practicing for 20 years. I have my own law firm. I have my own intake consulting company. I started a virtual assistant, AI dependent inbound phone response known as Capture Now. I have partnered with many law firms throughout the country, different types of campaigns. I am a coach for law firms. I have my own coach, and I'm a family man. That's the most important thing. What brings me inspiration to get out of bed in the morning and give it my best is I'm a husband and I'm a father to 3 children. One of them is in heaven and guiding me on a daily basis. But on a daily basis, I'm juggling a million things, looking to help others. That's my goal.
Well, I know I talked to you about, we're recording this on Friday, and I know I've been following your Fridays with Ethan, so I appreciate you again spending your Friday with me today to talk about your journey. And so let's talk about your journey into entrepreneurship. You know, what kind of took you to take that first leap of starting your first law firm, and then jumping into a business outside of the law, not necessarily outside of the law, but goes with law, but as a non-lawyer kind of thing. So take us through that journey.
Yeah, so I'm not going to be someone who tells you that I was starting businesses at the age of 7, selling ice cream on the corner, or lemonade in the corner. But I will tell you that I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was younger. I was always going down the path of becoming an attorney. Every teacher would tell me, you're so good at arguing, and you're comfortable speaking in front of a lot of people. You should probably become an attorney. So then, when you're not sure what you want to do, you go to law school, and then you're not sure what you want to do. I became an assistant district attorney, a prosecutor in Brooklyn, New York, where I was born and raised. And that was an amazing experience to try cases, to indict cases, to help those who have been hurt emotionally, physically, or worse. But I realized that I couldn't really raise a family on that salary. So I jumped out, became a medical malpractice defense attorney for less than a year. It was not for me. I couldn't bill every 6 minutes. I didn't feel like I was making any major impact on other people's lives. Then became a personal injury attorney. And I think that's very early on there is where the entrepreneurial light switch turned on. I realized, number one, that this was a business. I also realized, number two, that many lawyers who had businesses didn't know how to run the business, although they were excellent attorneys. And for me, it became something. I was an athlete. I like to consider myself an athlete. Some people might say, Gary, you weren't that good, but I played college tennis, and I love to compete. I play lots of sports, and for me, trying to win is probably more important than winning. And when I watched how the business was being run, I kind of felt like, well, I feel like we're not trying the right way. We're not doing everything to help ourselves win, yet we were still winning, right? But I was the only one that was complaining that the path that we were using may not have been the most efficient or most productive, or garner the most best results. So ended up, talking my way into managing the intake of this law firm, helping out immediately, seeing the return on the investment immediately, and working with other lawyers in a referral capacity. And it was there where I said, I'm going to jump ship. I'm going to help other law firms. I'm going to start my own practice. And then it just became a domino, had a domino effect moving forward. So that's how it started.
So let's talk a little bit about the business that you're now doing, and how you do help lawyers. And I know intake is always an important part of any law firm. And like you kind of talked about, I wasn't a businessman, I was an attorney, and I never understood or appreciated conversion rates. I never understood cost of acquisition. I never understood the opportunity cost if we weren't answering our phones, and all those types of things. So there's so much to understand when it comes to intake. So talk a little bit about the services that you provide, and how you guys provide those services.
Yeah, so really, there's a whole list, right? So I consult law firms, and you can bring me in, and I can help the law firm really do a deep dive audit on what's working and what's not working. I have my own masterclass where law firms throughout the country, it's akin to CLE, but it's for intake, right? CLE, we got to do every couple of years. We have to have 20 something credits and make sure that we're up to par with knowing the law and not running in bounds of the law. Well, the same thing goes with intake. It's sales, right? This is sales. At the end of the day, we may not, and I fought with that term early on. I thought, no, we're better than sales. We are helping people. We're not selling a product. And then what dawned on me was how competitive the industry was. And at the end of the day, it wasn't your brand. It wasn't how successful you were in the past. It wasn't your resume. It wasn't how many resources you had. None of those things factored into whether someone was going to hire you or not. Now, it may have factored, your brand may have been a factor in having someone call you or consider you. But at the end of the day, their decision as to whether they were going to work with you or not was so dependent on the relationship and interaction they had with the person they spoke with, and the speed by which we responded and the frequency by which we followed up, that I just started wanting to create a more productive, efficient, and a better path for law firms. And I sort of have been going down that path now for over a decade.
I know one cool thing is, you've become an innovator in the space as well. And we talk about law firms kind of always seem to be like 10 years behind,
Yeah.
kind of other industries in a lot of ways. And so I know you created an awesome product called Capture Now. And so talk about innovation, and where that innovation came from. And also in talking about that, you coming kind of first with this Capture Now product. What is the future of intake with AI now?
Yeah, sorry about that noise. That's going to be gone any minute. But so here's the thing: at one point I had a call center with my partners, and we had created the largest retention call center in the country. We retained over 100,000 cases for law firms who had forwarded their intakes to us, and that we had a successful exit from that company. And my partners and I sat down and said, okay, what's the future of this? Is the future a new call center, a better call center, better people? And what we realized, and I specifically got to witness firsthand, was that people, us human beings, are going to make a lot of mistakes. We're going to guess, and it's going to hurt us. And the idea that we're going to outsource such an integral part of our company, of our business, to a company that we're not training, that we don't know, that we can't hold accountable, was crazy to us. So we looked at what Fortune 500 companies in the sales industries were doing, and we realized that we needed to create a bot, a virtual assistant. And once we added conversational AI to this product, to Capture Now, it is just spreading like a wildfire, because it is just so predictable. It is so dependable, that you don't have to worry about someone having a bad day, or someone watching a movie while they're picking up a call, or someone using the wrong law firm name when they answer, or someone giving advice, the wrong advice to a claimant. There's one great call, one of our clients. I love when the truth is sometimes scarier than fiction, but there's one great example. One of our clients, a criminal defense attorney, said, Gary, the straw that broke the camel's back for us was someone called our firm, and the call center rep picked up, and the caller said, what do I do? Here's my situation. And the call center rep said, you should turn yourself into the police. This is a call center rep for a criminal defense law firm. And he said, I can't, what are we doing right now? So I think it dawned on us that we could really create a more efficient, more successful, more reliable solution. That's what we do with Capture Now, and really excited to see where it goes.
Well, I can imagine going into this, because I know I've talked about AI and PI and AI, coming into the legal sector. And when I get up in front of crowds, and I'm sure much like you, when I start talking about some of the things that my firm is doing when it comes to AI in our practice areas, people look at me like I have multiple heads. Like, what is this guy even talking about, right? So I can imagine that there were some early challenges for you to, number one, develop this product, because
Yeah.
it is different when you are doing for law firms. Two, you had to have some challenges and then going out and trying to sell this product and explain this to law firms. Talk about some of those early challenges and the things that you did to overcome those challenges to really build a
Yes.
successful product.
Thank you. Yeah. So I think in our industry, I think we could both agree that we don't have the most technologically advanced industry out there. And for us lawyers, especially, we're very conservative people. We don't want to go out there. We're aware of consequences. We're aware of the logic of an if then. If I try that, then this could happen. And where a lot of us are risk averse. Now there are owners out there that would say to me, Gary, I'm not risk averse. I gambled $100,000 with my first credit card and started my own law firm. And I'll say, you know what? You're a difference. You're the difference. You're an aberration. But if I ask other folks, and most of the law firms, most of the lawyers in your firm, Mr. Owner, they've never put a penny up, to get a case. They just get new files every week, and thank you. So there is a lot of risk averse going on in our industry. And I think early on, the idea, the concept that you would not have a human being pick up your call was outlandish. It was something that was just not going to happen. Now, once you started speaking with the leaders in the industry, the ones that wanted to create a better product and constantly looked to create improvement and to create more value for their clients, once you got those law firms to jump on board, then it was sort of then everybody the intrigue antenna went up. Like, oh, they're using that. That's interesting. If they're using that, maybe I should try that. So in our industry, that's really important. You got to get some of the leaders, some of the forward-thinking owners to try something out, and once they do, and others see that it's working, they'll follow.
Yeah, one thing that's always impressed me is, I've got to see you multiple times in different formats, right? I've got to see you kind of in a smaller group setting. I've got to see you on large stages, and the passion that comes out and talking about the product. And so I want you to kind of talk about that, getting up in front of those crowds and having to talk to explain this product to get people excited about it. And I know every time you spoke, your excitement always came through. I've got to have one-on-ones with you too. And so, yeah, I want you to kind of talk about that, getting up in the front of that crowd to sell a product, and how you kind of develop that part of your being a business owner.
Yeah. So if I were to, I'm not here to tell you I'm a good salesperson. I have never taken a sales course in my life. Maybe I should. But I will tell you this. If I like something and I believe in something, I'm going to be one of the most passionate people about that something. Whether it's a person that's doing something, and I tell the other dads about how good this other kid is in sports, he's got to play shortstop. I'm telling you, I can see his footwork. I can see how focused. I'm going to get very passionate, even loud, right, like I am right now about it. And when that happens as a business owner, when you start not just to sell something because it's yours, but to sell something that you believe in and that you have seen the success of, it makes what I'm doing sound like sales, but it's not sales. It's me just sharing with you how the excitement I have for this new value add prop in our industry. And if anything, sometimes, Chris, I will stop myself from saying something that might be too aggressive on stage, right? Because I almost want to scream sometimes, guys, what the heck are you doing? What are you doing right now not using something like my product? Maybe not my product. Go use one of my competitors. That's fine. But what are you doing relying on someone to wait on the phone 8 rings for someone else to pick up? When's the last time any of us have waited 8 rings for someone to pick up, right? So this is sort of what I'm thinking in my mind when I'm on stage. And I think with this product, I get to really scream about, and by the way, it also helps that I'm a lawyer, right? It helps that other lawyers see me and go, okay, that guy went to law school, that guy practiced, that guy was in the courtroom, that guy spoke with claimants, that guy had to make arguments, had to write motions, had to go to depositions. So like I'll give him a little more leeway to yell at me or to tell me that I should try something new. So that certainly helps me when I'm on stage. But I think that the facts are what the facts are. You can't fight them. And when you listen to just a few calls, and that's my challenge to everybody out there. Forget about my product. I don't want to, this podcast isn't about me selling me or my product. But what I will tell you is, please do me a favor, owner, intake manager, attorney in a firm, go listen to 3 to 5 calls, not one, because maybe it's an aberration. Maybe it's a great call. Maybe it's a terrible call. You don't want to just rely on one call. Listen to 3 or 5 calls. And if you don't come away with a handful, not one or two, a handful of pieces of opportunity that you can improve upon, I would be surprised. And you could put me on the spot, call me out. I'd be absolutely surprised. There's a call I listened to recently. Okay, it's a call I listened to recently where it happened to be a death case, and the call center rep put the caller on hold for about 4 minutes. And to their credit, they put them on hold to go try to find a lawyer. Okay, so I'm all about escalating for a really strong case, try to get a lawyer. It was a 4-minute hold, really long hold. Yeah, it is what it is. If that were the only thing I'm complaining about, I'd be okay with it. They come back on after that hold and say, I couldn't find anyone, so someone's going to have to give you a call back. So now here we are with this really strong case for a personal injury law firm. It might be 7 digits, right, in terms of potential revenue in the future. Not to mention the advocacy that you can do by helping someone who's going through hell. But regardless, so now you tell this person that I think we could help, but I want to get a lawyer on the phone for you. You put them on hold for 4 minutes and then tell them someone's going to give them a call back. What makes you think that person's waiting for a call back? I want everyone who's watching this to understand, I want you to act as if you only have one bite at the apple. If your team were acting as if they only have one bite at the apple, what you will see will change the future of your firm forever, right? Because it's the moment that we think we have a second bite or a third bite or a call you back or a long hold or a long ring time, the moment we go down that path and think that that's okay, that's where our future is in trouble.
I think that's one thing that we talk about a lot, right? Is that as the business owner, when you get to that point, you have that sense of urgency with everything in your firm. There's always this like amazing sense of urgency. This has to get done. It has to get done. No, now I got to do this. I got to do that. It's the sense of urgency, but getting that sense of urgency to permeate throughout your organization so that everybody acts with that exact same sense of urgency is always the hard part. So talk a little bit about your leadership style and how you really spread that sense of urgency because it is so hard.
Well, you just hit on it, Chris, right? Because I was about to piggyback what you said, which is the moment, I would say a shift from employee to employer probably goes from accepting the word project to not accepting the word project, right? As an employee, you could say, okay, this is like a 3 or 6 month project, and we'll put some time into this, maybe an hour a day, and I think we'll see some real progress over 3 or 6 months. When you become an employer or an owner, you hate that word project because project screams long. Project screams waste, right? And it screams maybe later in the future, at some point we'll get there. And as an owner, you want it done yesterday. Now, it doesn't mean that you want it done wrong. It doesn't mean that you're going to rush to make bad decisions, but it does mean that we can get to a point where there's progress and we get it done as soon as possible. And if we have to fix it while we're doing it, then we'll fix it while we're doing it. But I'm not going to wait for that perfect solution before we execute on it. I think as a leader, I like to see improvement on a daily basis. I don't like to say, okay, it's going to take 6 months before we get there. No, why? What can we do today just to show some progress? Just to show some progress, right? So when I consult with a law firm, I'll usually tell them, I'm going to say to them at the beginning of the consult, I'll say, listen, at the end of this consult, I'm going to give you a list of things that I'm confident that we're going to be able to work on and we're going to fix. But here's what I need to promise from you. There's going to be a few things in this list that could be fixed today. Today. If you agree with me, will you promise to make some of those changes today? Because what I don't want you to do is waste the time and the money you invested in having me come out here and then say, okay, we'll see. We'll think about it. Like you did the right thing. You're being aggressive. You want to fix the sales aspect of your firm, which is so important, right? Because you talked about earlier some metrics when you talk about conversion percentage or cost per acquisition or what's your potential fee in a case. When you start doing some of the basic math, other industries would be absolutely shocked at what our margins could be and how much loss that we're leaving on the, that are leaving on the table that become lost for our firms, they would be surprised. What do you mean, Gary? They only called 3 times in 2 weeks and it has the potential fee of $25,000. What are you talking about? Yeah, that's what we're talking about. That's exactly what we're talking about. And I think it's just a mindset shift. And something, I'll say one more thing, and it's very akin to what we've been talking about. Something I talk about in my master class a lot, something I talk about in my consulting clients when I'm on stage. A lot of it's a mentality shift. So the mentality shift is going from reactive to proactive. And reactive can certainly be productive, right? If you react, right? Reacting is not bad. You see a fire, you put the fire out, that's fine. But proactive may actually be looking for what could be a fire and let's stop it before it becomes a fire. And I think when you create that shift mentally, all of a sudden you start to look at all of your processes, all of your people, all of your scripts, all of your cadences, your guides, your playbooks, and you start to say, okay, how can we make it better? And I think for me, as an entrepreneur, as an owner of companies, I sort of always look for the white space. Where can improvement be made? And I think, and I'm proud of that. And it took me a while to accept that. I think, imposter syndrome can probably impact all of us, where you go, oh, maybe I'm not good enough for this, or maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or maybe no one's going to listen to me. But over time, when you are able to prove that what you've believed is actually correct, it allows you to just you're running, you're sprinting with these concepts and these ideas, this mentality. And that's where I'm at right now.
Well, I want to talk about that because it's interesting. The mindset shift is really what changed everything for me when I availed myself to business coaching, when I became coachable, when I realized that I didn't have to have all the answers, that there were people that were much smarter than I was. That's where things really took off for us. And so, I had a very similar journey to yours. I started off at the state attorney's office. I was a prosecutor where people were arrested and I just had to do my job, right? And then I went into a personal injury firm and all of a sudden my world's upside down. Now they're asking me to go and generate work and market and network. And like, what does that mean? And you go into that, you do that for, I was an associate there for 7 or 8 years before, hey, maybe I could do this on my own. I could probably do this better than they can, right? So I get that entrepreneurial spirit, go out and start my own firm, and did that for a few years, and obviously struggled in the beginning to kind of figure out how to make some changes, and through business coaching was able to do a lot of amazing things. And now I've gone into the progression with you where I'm starting to create my own softwares, my own other companies. I'm getting involved in other things, and it's not just about law anymore. So share that journey for you and that mindset shift, where that came from and how that came about, because some of us are able to kind of do that and make that and become that proactive person, take those actions, while others, I'm a part of different coaching communities, and I go to these coaching communities, and there's 1,000 other business owners there, and there's a small percentage even in that coaching community that actually go back and do all the things. We were talking about this podcast, for example, and my business coach, or one of the business coaches, said, start a podcast. There was probably said that to probably 1,000 people over the course of that workshop, right? There was a handful of us that actually started one, and there's even less now that are actually still going with it. So, not to pat myself on the back there, but I know all the things that you've done too. And so there's something that differentiates that. And I want people to hear that from you, because what you're doing is truly amazing.
Well, I think you should pat yourself on the back. I think that's really important because very few people are going to take the time to congratulate you on your success and don't know your story and don't know the fears that you may have had to climb over, or the challenges or the risks, and only you do. So, I'll say it. I'll say congratulations to you. I'll pat you on the back when I see you, but you better make sure you pat yourself on the back. And I can tell you from firsthand, you don't know how life can hit at you. So you take it. If you see a positive, you better accept it and you run with it. As for me, I think I looked around, and I understand the whole concept of don't compare yourself to other people and really focus on you. But I think I looked around and I didn't like the ladder that I was on, and I sort of had to consider, okay, well, what are my options? And not that I didn't like my job. I loved my job. I loved what I was doing. I loved being in charge of a group. I was on TV for the firm. I had people stopping me. You're that guy on TV. I'm like, yeah, nice to meet you. Like, I was not a celebrity, but when someone stops you at a red light and says, hey, I know you, that's pretty cool to hear. And I guess I said to I had to have that moment of, you know, there's a door in front of me that I have no idea what's on the other side, or there's a path in front of me, which I have a pretty clear idea of where that path leads. And I didn't like where the path was leading 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road. So I convinced myself that I had an idea, that I had value to add to many law firms. Without having run any businesses yet at that point, I convinced myself that I could do this. And I think sort of I had to keep. It's funny. It was probably at the early ages of like watching random YouTube videos. Right, we're talking about in the 2008, 9, 10 area, and I actually watched a video. And it's funny that I remember it because it's one of the videos that maybe after I watched that video, I was like, all right, that makes sense. And the video was someone was saying that every successful person that wasn't born with some silver spoon had to take a leap at some point. And they had no idea what was on the other side of that leap. And they knew that it's possible when they leap that they might fall and they might get a few scratches, have some bruises, have some injuries, but the success relied on that leap. And I think that idea of that unknown jump is once I got over that, once I accepted that I'm going to take this leap without anything that I know of waiting on the other side. And when I did that, the world of opportunities opened up. And I'm not saying people started saying, hey, Gary, I'll give you this money if you do this. No, it wasn't that. It was more like the world of opportunity to consider things opened up. I could have conversations with anybody about anything, and it was all possible. Oh, we want to create that? Let's create that. I've started businesses you have no idea. No one knows, right? Because after 6 months, I was like, that didn't really work out as planned, but that's okay. I had the ability to try that. And I think for me, I kind of asked myself, like, why not me? Why can't I achieve the success that maybe all these other successful people have achieved? And it was really the understanding of, you got to leap, Gary. You got to jump. No one's giving it to you. No one's going to knock on your door and say, hey, I really like the way you talk to other people. I'd like to pay you a lot of money just to be you. It's not going to happen. No one, I wish it were. Like, I remember as a kid, like, why can't I just get paid to be me? Like, I'm a good guy. Doesn't anybody want just me? It doesn't work that way. It might sound really great. I'm going to have to tell my kids the truth about that one day, but like, you're going to have to leap if you want to really get to that next level. And I took it, and I've had no regrets. And I've been so excited about all these amazing ideas. And then the ones that work out, as you can tell, I'm all in on them. I'm all in. I'm really excited about the value that they're at.
Well, and I think that's such a big part of it. I mean, you hit on so many things there. Again, I just see those parallels where, again, I get the comparison, but I looked at other successful people, and I said, look, they wake up the same way. Wake up in the morning, roll out of bed, put their pants on just like I do. There's nothing that makes them, special, right? It's just that they were willing to take that leap, take those actions, do those things, and go create those opportunities for themselves. And you either are going to be too scared to do that and say I can't do that and never try, or you're gonna go take the chance, and that's what really changed things.
I think that's the majority of the people too, right, Chris? So I think a lot of people smarter than me could have easily done a lot more than I have, but they were not willing to take that risk, which is interesting because whenever I speak with somebody, whether I know them well or not, but certainly the ones I know well, whenever they're at a fork in the road and they're thinking about trying something new, I don't even have to hear about it. I'm like, go do it. Do it. You will not regret it. Jump, do it. You will be fine. You'll be better than fine. Because I feel like I needed to hear that. And I'm sure I had a few people who told me. As a matter of fact, a couple of people come to mind right now, but like, I needed to hear that. Not just from me. I needed to hear from an outside opinion who I respected. And I try to be that person for many people who are in that same position that I was in.
Yeah. One thing I like to talk about too is that, I know, you coach, but you also have your coaches, you participate in master classes. And so even at the levels that you've reached, you value yourself to coaching, you've written books, spoken on stages, and really have taken that risk. You've really taken that on. So talk about the importance of how that coaching and things have shaped your life and allowed you to go into and write books and be a featured speaker and those types of things.
I think I realized that I don't want to be my biggest enemy where I convince myself that I could do everything really, really well. That's not fair. It's not fair. I know what I'm good at. I know what I want to be good at, and then I'll try to become good at it. And then I know that there are certain things I have no idea, but I need to understand them, or I need a partner. I need someone to teach them to me. And for me, having a coach allowed me to get another perspective on how I could grow both personally, professionally, expand, my thought processes, expand how I communicate with others. And it's been amazing. You also, when you have a coach, you don't feel like you're alone, right? And being an entrepreneur, it can be a very lonely thing, right? Because you're not going to be you're not going to be transparent with everybody about everything. You're not going to tell them about all your losses or all your wins, right? Some of that you keep to yourself and your family. And it can be a very lonely, you tend to also, as an entrepreneur, and I'm working on this right now, to judge how you're doing on a daily basis. And that's not fair. It's not fair to every day say, did I win today? Did I crush it today? And there are going to be some days where, there's a great business quote. It's one of my favorite business quotes. I read it early on, and it allowed me to stick with the program. And this is the quote. It said, don't judge your day by how much you've harvested. Judge your day by how many seeds you've planted. And that is something I lean on all the time. So rather than saying, how much did I win today? I will actually ask myself, not that I'll ask every day, but when I'm second guessing about how the day or the week has gone, I'll say, well, did I plant any seeds this week? And I'm always feeling good about that. Like, yeah, I planted a bunch of seeds this week. There's a lot of things that have the potential to grow and become something. That's important to me.
Well, I want to talk to you about the mindset stuff because obviously, as we've talked, you've had some unimaginable loss. And I still remember kind of when it happened because I was supposed to see you speak, and you had to cancel at the last second because of obviously what happened. And at the time, we didn't know what had happened, so then we learned about it. And so I know you've gone through a lot in business and in life. Keeping that perspective on things is hard. And so, talk to us about the things that you do. And I know you can talk about Ethan's story and the foundation that you've created, but talk about the things that you've had to kind of face and how you faced them, and how you're trying to do a lot of positive through that experience.
Yeah, and thanks for asking, Chris. I love talking about them, and it hurts. It hurts like hell to do it. I was actually telling my wife this morning. We try to go for a walk every morning, and I said, it's so tough to look at the damn pictures. It's so tough to look at pictures because it's like touching the wound all over again. But yet you can't not look at pictures because you owe it to your son to look at these pictures. And obviously, I'm talking about Ethan. So yeah, let me take you back a little bit. I was supposed to be at a crisp presentation the next day or 2 days later. So it was May 3rd of 2023. And I had taken, Ethan was on the high school varsity tennis team as an 8th grader. And now I'm a former college tennis player. He was better than I was. He was going down this path of excellence, going to play, and I'm sure he's going to play in college, but he was more than a tennis player. He was a tremendous student. He was an even better friend. He was a straight A. He wanted to go to Cornell like his mom, like my wife. But he was the best friend, and he was happy. He was excited about his life. I mean, he truly was. He checked every single box that a parent would want their child to check, every single box. And to the point of he checked boxes he didn't even know existed. And you were like, wow, like I wish I knew that, but I'm so damn proud of you. So there's so much positivity, so much love in my family and my kids' lives. And he's playing this big match. And he ended up winning under the lights. It was a doubles match. And I remember he said, Dad, I'm going to go out with the guys. We're going to go out to celebrate. I said, absolutely. And he had a senior in high school driving him, and they all went out to Buffalo Wild Wings. I remember the conversations we had while he was out. I texted him this amazing text of how proud I was that you played tonight. You're just awesome. I'm so go have a good time with the guys. He even called up midway through dinner. He said, Dad, is it okay if I go to school late tomorrow? I really want to finish this project in the morning. I said, Ethan, don't worry about it. Go have a good time. We'll figure it out in the morning, because I knew I had to ask my wife anyway. She makes those decisions. But he was like, no, really, can I? I said, Dad, please don't worry. Go have a good time. We'll figure it out. I love you. That was the last time I spoke to him. And I talk about the word earn and deserve a lot. There is no one I've met in my entire life who has earned a life of just tremendous satisfaction and happiness more than any. And I get emotional, but I'm okay with it if you're okay with it. So what's interesting is a few months prior, I was at a consult for a law firm. And I went out with the there's relevance to the story, and I went out with the owner to the of the law firm for dinner, and I said to him, it was always an icebreaker. This little, if you ever want to have someone feel good about themselves and also have an icebreaker, you ask somebody, hey, so how'd you do it? How did you raise your kids and they're so successful? You get them to talk about themselves a little bit. He said, Gary, I kept a journal by my bed because I knew I'd forget things. So I wanted to make sure I documented all the little moments. I said, I love that. I'm not a journal guy, but I really love that idea. Maybe one day I'll journal. So now, fast forward to May 3rd. I'm putting my daughter to sleep. Ethan's not home yet because he's out to dinner with the guys. My son Landon's laying with my wife. And I said, today was amazing. I got to watch my son Landon play basketball. I'm putting my daughter to sleep. She's telling me that 1 and 1 is 11 and that you yawn because your brain is telling you that you need oxygen. And it was just my wife was helping at the field house. It was just a perfect day. And I want to document today. So I documented at about, 10:03 p.m. and I have it saved. What a great day. I got to watch Ethan play tennis. He was amazing. And 15 minutes later, we get a phone call about a terrible crash. And my life, went upside down forever. I still wake up every morning hoping it was a bad dream. I still look at my wrist. I have these things that people make, when something happens or a cause. I still look at my wrist sometimes and hoping that there's nothing on my wrist. And it was just a really bad dream. My whole definition or understanding of life changed because I always told my kids, and frankly, I always believed that if you worked really hard at something and you wanted it, it had to be both. You can't work really hard but not want it because that's like fake. You can't really want it but not work hard because want gets you nowhere by itself. But if all things being equal, if you work really hard and you really want it, the odds are in your favor to achieve it. But those two things are on you. There are some things out of your control, but those two things are on you. And I believed that. And my kids believed it. And Ethan believed it. As my oldest son, he believed it and he ran with it. So it's tough that the world did not take into consideration what a tremendous human being he was. So I appreciate you letting me talk about him. So after everything happened, we had to get our understand, go back to living life again. I took all, I stopped everything for a little bit. I'll never come to terms with it. But I also realized that I have to talk about him because if I don't talk about him, who will? If I don't make an impact, if I don't try to make an impact the way he was, well, that's not fair to him because he was doing an amazing job. So we created the Ethan Falkowitz Foundation. And, right away, we realized that one of Ethan's best qualities, one of his most humane qualities was kindness. The stories, we knew about it, but as a parent, you don't really hear all the stories, especially as a 14-year-old kid. You don't hear everything he's doing on a daily basis. And after this type of tragedy, everybody starts to share things with you. Ethan was the kindest human being. He made time for everybody. He made everybody feel really good about themselves. There was no room for hate. There was no room for holding a grudge. None of it. So what we do is there are about just more than a dozen schools in less than a year where we created the E-Pledge. And it's a kindness pledge for elementary school students, for little kids, where we tell them, we share the story of Ethan, and then we ask them, we say, hey, if you can have a superpower, I'll speak. You think I speak well in front of adults? You should see me in front of kids. It's just a fun moment. And I go, hey, if you guys could have a superpower, what would it be? And I go around a room of 300 or 400 kids, and I want to fly. I want to be invisible. I want to, be fast. And I go, well, Ethan had a superpower. They go, what? Really? He had a super? I go, yes. That actually all of you have the same superpower. And they're like, what is it? I go, it's kindness. Oh, kindness. Come on, Gary. I go, no, it's kindness. I said, if you wanted to right now, you can make someone smile. That's on you. And we talk about this kindness pledge, and the kids get really excited by it. And they sign this agreement. Their first contract ever is to be kind. And then we give a curriculum if the teachers want. We give a bunch of ideas that they could just sprinkle in to their curriculum about kindness. I mean, they're probably doing a wonderful job anyway, but we're trying to teach Ethan's kindness ways to others. And there are a bunch of other things. We're in the process of creating a stopping drunk driving social media campaign that's related to scholarships that we're going to be rolling out this summer, which we're really excited about. And then we hold a gala. And we're just, we're doing the very best we could to make sure that people know that what Ethan was doing will not stop with him. It will continue, and we'll make sure it continues. But I'm a very proud dad. I'm a broken dad, and I got to figure out, how to still be the best parent and dad I could be to my other kids, because they're my everything. My wife is my everything. And I'll, I don't want to come across as, hey, life is fantastic now. Listen, I got to live. This is a second life. This is an inferior life to my first life, no doubt about it. But I will do everything in my power to improve the things around me, using Ethan's mentality, because he figured it all out. If Ethan could put it in, and he would never say this, so it wasn't like he was arrogant, but I'll say it for him. It was as if Ethan said, I figured all this out for me. How can I help you? That's how he lived his life. He figured it all out for him. He knew, I just got to work really hard and I'll understand it. Or I just got to be there for somebody and that'll be great. What can I do to help you? That was his big thing. And I'm proud of him. So I just feel sorry he couldn't do more of it.
Yeah, I think you're just a powerful example of someone who's taken this pain and turned it into such purpose with what you're doing, and it just, what I want to ask you is how do you go through those hard days? You're going to have hard days, and we have hard days, and whether it's in business or whether it's in life, and it's the way we handle those hard days to get through it. And you really, like I said, your Fridays with Ethan, you're just doing so much to do it. So talk a little bit about how you get through those hard days.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for asking, Chris. When I'm alone, when I'm in the car, there are some screams, and you got to let it out. You look for, you want to believe in signs, so you look really hard for signs. You scream at the skies and you say why. And those moments, you realize after you do that for a few seconds, okay, it didn't help. It didn't get me anything, but I was able to just let it out for a moment. So now let's get back to what's the reality that's in front of me. My Fridays with Ethan, they're they're love letters to my son, and I think that if I had to take a guess, because I'm living such a different world from other people, if I had to take a guess, there are probably many, many, many people that so badly want to talk to me or hug me or share a story with me, and they don't know how. And I always say, like, just do it. I want to hear every little thing. Just do it. But my Fridays with Ethan, I think, are my ways of saying, hey, let's talk about E for a little bit. I want to give you some time to hear about him. I want you to remember him, and I want you to know that no matter what you see me doing, whether you see me at the local pizza place, if you see me on a social media ad, if you see me on stage promoting intake, I want you to know that Fridays with Ethan, that's the me. That's the real me. That is me opening up my heart. Again, you're going to see just 5 or 6 minutes of unrehearsed Gary sharing what is inside about his son E, about what I'm going through, about something somebody said to me. And it's so important for me to do that for him, because unless you're in my shoes, and I hope no one that's watching this is ever in my shoes. But when you're in my shoes, and everybody, and let me also say this too, like others that have suffered the way I have, We're all different too. How I'm going through it is different than how they're going through it. How my wife goes through it is different than how I go through it. But I will tell you that my biggest fear, the biggest injustice, is that I'm scared people are going to forget my son. So I got to make sure that that doesn't happen. And so it's my love letter and my reminder to everyone of how special Ethan is.
Well, I want to encourage you to keep doing it because I know by you sharing it inspires me, keeps me, uh, just eye on the prize and understanding what's important in life. And so I know that I appreciate it. I look forward to it. I always watch and listen. And so hopefully it encourages you to keep going because what you're doing is remarkable. And I can't express the, you and I are not even that close and never been that close, right, in some ways, but it's impactful for me. It's something I look forward, to just hearing because you really share your heart and it's amazing. So seeing someone like you that's able to do that just gives me such, confidence that, hey, keep going, keep sharing, keep doing, keep going the right way. You're doing things right. So I appreciate it so much. And I just want to tell you that. And I want to thank you for your time sharing your entrepreneurial journey, but also your personal journey. I know it's been a true inspiration to me.
Well, Chris, I want to thank you. I think that it's really important for someone like me to have an interested party hear about my son, Ethan. So I thank you very, very much. And for those that are watching, these are amazing, amazing podcasts. Keep watching them. Chris is crushing it with it. I think if you're an entrepreneur out there, take the leap. Take the leap. Whatever you're doing, try it. What's the worst that can happen? But Chris, I congratulate you, man, on all the success. I know we're not close yet, but it's a step one. And I can't wait to see you and give you a hug, hear about how things are moving. Anything I can do to help you moving forward, anytime, just reach out. But congratulations on all the success.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gary. Gary, thank you for your vulnerability, your strength, and your willingness to share Ethan's light with all of us. This wasn't just a conversation about business. It was a reminder that the legacy we build is rooted in love, resilience, and how we choose to show up after life tries to knock us down. If you're listening today, take this as an invitation to live more fully, lead with heart, and honor the people you love every single day. And as always, keep shining your light.